What's up, YouTube? Give me just a moment here to get everything set up on the back end because I'm back on the PC. As we know, that requires a little more back end work than the phone does. So let's get all situated here, make sure we're all going. All right, this is looking good. That's looking good. Got everything plugged in here. Make sure this is right. Yeah, can you see me? Yeah, light's good. Hey-o! Y'all know what time it is. It's Saturday night. This is not my usual lawn and garden show time. I'm going to double up. I'm going to do a Friday night and a Saturday night in case you don't get any questions in tonight. To be honest, this is going to be pretty scaled down, kind of taking it easy. My wife and kids are in Japan, so I'm not going to be super intense tonight. And so anyway, going to kind of just take it as it goes, and we'll do something a little different tonight and see how it goes. So anyway, I'm going to hop over in the chat, see who's here. I see it looks like we got a couple of people tuning in. KC Custom. What's going on? Chris Gibson. That's Gibby from the Lawn Forum. For those of you that don't know, check out thelawnforum.com. Great group of folks over there. Gibby and I like to hang out on the Discord server chat. It's where Gibby and I hang out. Little baby Kenny, what's going on? Philip Cagle. Yes, we are. We are a day early. But you know what? We're going to double up this weekend. You know why? Because I can. And that's what I got to say about that. Saturday night, cat bird feeder. How are you, ma'am? How are things down in Mississippi? I reckon they're just as hot as the rest of the country, I'd say. Alfred, how are you, good sir? Mr. Sullivan, ¿cómo estás? Michael Moore, how are you, sir? Good to see you in here. Yard's done right. Jim Beverage, how are you, good sir? Not tonight, sir, not tonight. Actually, the organic grape juice. Why not? Why not? Chris Boyd is dodging water balloons to watch this. That's pretty good stuff. Jeremy W. is trying to get caught up from a hard day of yard work that may have included some adult beverages. Sounds tough, brother. Yep, that's right. I meant Saturday and Sunday. Can someone text him and let him know he's alive? I wonder if this is an accident. We can't scale this thing back, Matt Lane. I know. I don't know how it's going to go. So I'm just going to play this all by ear. I may not be able to keep up with the chat. I may be able to keep up with the chat. We'll see how it goes. We're just having fun tonight because it's Saturday. Grapes are affecting his ability to think what day it is. That's right. Uncle Rob going out to do some last minute spraying. Good for you, Uncle Rob. Get out there and get it done, man. 91 in Pennsylvania, says Larry. Man, that's tough. Brutal. That is hot. I know, especially for up there where you're at, I'd say you don't usually catch it then. You're not used to catching the 91 degrees. But, hey, you know what? We'll make it through it. The cool season turf will make it through it, and we'll all be all right. There's my wife, Asami Martin, all the way from literally the other side of the planet. She's in Japan right now with the kiddos, so I'm here hanging out at the house by myself, and I literally have nothing else to do because the only thing I really do is turf grass. So when my family's gone, the only thing I have left to do is turf grass. Glad you're here, Asami. I've got a question I've asked on the Lawn Forum. Why isn't sprigging growing all fed by foliar apps? Ray said a lot like growing hydroponic tomatoes. I don't know, Phil. It probably all comes down to the amount of traffic on the new sprigs, because in order for sprigging to take place, you have to keep the ground exceptionally wet. So, think of it like hydroponics are grown in water, right? It would be, the same thing. You have to keep it like a moist, super mushy-like condition. When we sprigged fairways, it was like swampland out there. And so if you're out trying to navigate a tractor with a 500-gallon tank on the back of it, you're going to rut it to all get out. So typically on the front end, you try and get all your feeding done pre-seed, and then once it's up and it's going a little bit, all that is usually done by push spreaders, and then once it's up and in, and you don't have to worry about so much thickening up taking place. That's when you can make your transition over to foliar apps. But typically, and I think it also has something to do with sprigs being a newer grass. It's going to be more sensitive to things like foliar applications on those new leaves as they begin to put off new shoots. They're going to be tender and coming out with higher rate of fertilizer salt. Say even if it's a quarter pound, it may lead to some issues. That's going to be my best guess. I'm trying to reverse engineer back into that answer though, so don't quote me on that. But those are a couple of different instances that I could see the logic behind it being granular versus foliar. There we go. Michael Moore's about to go do some, what was it? He called it a sparkler bomb of some sort. He had these sparklers and created some sort of bomb. I don't know. I don't do that. C.D. Andrews, how are you, good sir? Glad to see you. John Pinkerton, way up in Iowa. Trent Burns, how are you? You're also down there in Mississippi. I'd say it's hot down your way. That's right, John. I better keep the house clean because I don't want to be in trouble when she gets back. That's right. Quick, put away the evidence. Doesn't mean you shouldn't be wearing your wabaki inside. Jeremy, I don't even know what that means. Maybe my wife can tune in and tell me what's going on. Kareem, what can I do to prevent herbicide burn or discoloration to Bermuda grass in such hot weather, Georgia, 95-degree temperatures? Kareem, typically you want to treat earlier in the day. So you're looking at like probably prior to 12 noon, maybe even 1 o'clock, something like that. You want to treat it when the ambient air temperature is less than 95. Then on the other side of that, and it's really a two-part answer, you want to choose an herbicide that is not as temperature sensitive. So, things like Celsius aren't as temperature sensitive as something like 2,4-D. So pay attention to what actual herbicide you're doing and the time of day that you're making your application. What's going on, Armando? How are you, sir? San Jose, California at 89 under a sycamore doing a Saturday. That's right, good sir. That's good to hear. Richard Nettles, the grape factor. I'm over here snacking on grapes. You know how it goes. Saturday grass factor must be out of loop. Jason Clark, this is kind of just a spur of the moment thing. I'm sitting around the house. I'm bored. So I thought, hey, why not? I'm going to fire up the old YouTubes. Gravy Lookout. Hey, Matt, love the show. Hey, thank you for tuning in, Gravy Lookout. I'm not sure I'm used to seeing your name. Are you new around here? John Ware, that's a good way to get in trouble. No need for that, sir. No need. Thank you, though. I really appreciate it. I've got fine fescue in MD that I've been cutting at 4.5 inches, but it's been matting in swirl patterns with lowering the height of cut. Correct this. Okay, no. Fine fescue is designed to be really tall. It's designed to lay over and mat in swirl patterns. If you look at fine fescue in nature, when it's at its absolute prime, it's this wispy grass that just lays over, isn't very aesthetic. So if you think that you can drop your height of cut and give it more of that tight, dense, almost springy-like effect, it's going to be at the health. You're going to be sacrificing the health of the plant. It's just not going to work that way. So you can do it, but you're ultimately going to end up damaging the grass. So it's better for it to be matted in swirling patterns and laying over and, look like it's really, lazy, because that's the genetic makeup of that plant and how it should function. Humic question, what can't or shouldn't you mix with it? Soluble phosphorus. You should not mix with humic. And I think that's the only thing I know of. That's the only thing that comes to my head, Matt Lane. Don't quote me on that. If you've got something that you think is going to be a little squirrely, always do a jar test first. There we go. Uwabaki, maybe. There we go. Jeremy W., whatever it is that you were trying to say to me that I did not understand, my wife's trying to clear it up. The Uwabaki. Oh, John Ware, that's for the Boda box. That's funny, sir. That's funny. I got really good green up, but a bunch of brown dead spots that are Poa annua. How should I deal with that? Should I water normally or let it burn out and die? Strumsy, really depends on what you want to do. If you want to get rid of your Poa, let it burn out and die. And then, just plan on repairing those areas in the fall before the Poa has a chance to germinate. If you're in Tennessee, then yeah, let it die and just burn out. If you're in northern Ohio or northern Michigan, it may be harder. So at that point, definitely, maybe try water starving it and see if you can get rid of it that way. There's not really a good answer. The farther north you go, there's not really a good answer to that. And it may be time to start considering post-emergent weed controls at that point for your Poa annua. And in cool season grass, your option for Poa would be ethophumisate, also known as Prograss, also known as Poa constrictor. A couple different ways to approach it. When trying to flip the script on grass to weed ratio in the lawn, would you cut really low to prevent more weeds from taking root, or cut really high to choke them out? Okay, so future farmer, this is really how that goes. When you're dealing with Bermuda and centipede, you're actually going to get more density from your turf grass at a really low cut. So the trick to that is that you also have to up your frequency. You can't mow every 7 to 10 days at 3/4 of an inch and expect to build turf density. I mean, you're going to have to take it extremely low. And that's why you see guys that are doing things with a reel mower, really, really take their lawn to the next level really quickly. And it's that low height of cut. That low height of cut will give you that density, which will choke out the weeds. It'll do a lot more than just preventing new weeds from taking root, because new weeds will still take root. Goosegrass, for instance, even if you're mowing at 4/10 of an inch, you're still going to have an issue with goosegrass. So if it were me, I would begin cutting extremely low. And then I would also run a good post-emergent weed control to get rid of those weeds and allow that extra space for your Bermuda to fill into. I would assume that you want to go with Bermuda over centipede. So kill the weeds, fertilize your Bermuda grass, and mow. That's the way to go. Gravy Lookout is new. Why won't high-strength Roundup kill ground ivy? I have sprayed it 3 times and nothing, using 40%. Okay, Trent, so this time of year, ground ivy and wild violets harden off. And what I mean by harden off is that that outer surface on the weed itself is going to become really, really, really thick and almost impenetrable. So when you're trying to tackle something like that, this time of year, when it has hardened off, it's better to use a good penetrant as a surfactant. So you want to use something like a crop oil concentrate or a methylated seed oil, or a methylated seed oil and maybe something like ammonium sulfate, to really try and power through that hardened off waxy coating that really gets on them. It's not as bad in the spring and fall, and typically that's when things like ground ivy and wild violets are more receptive to herbicide. This time of year, they're not as receptive to herbicide because the herbicide can't make it to the plant. Smash 16 says, I'm nuking my fence fine fescue in 13 days. There you go, sir. There you go. Yep, MSM would work. Be careful if you have any plants in the area where you're trying to spray out that ground ivy. How is your zoysia yard that had winter kill that you showed in earlier spring videos? Still nursing back some winter kill myself. Phil, it's a little bit better, but it's Xeon zoysia, and it just, it doesn't fill in great. That gives me a great idea. I'll run by and take some pictures of it. I was just at it a couple of weeks ago, so kind of grab the update there. Aaron Gillespie, what's going on, sir? Still counting Band-Aids, but I need to get down some azoxy this weekend with high temps. Should I avoid using propiconazole, or is it good to do it if I do it early in the AM? Your propiconazole will be okay to do if early in the AM. And again, keep in mind, if you're mixing it with azoxy, you can drop your propiconazole rate and still broaden your spectrum of control from just a half rate of propiconazole. And a half rate of propiconazole is not going to be harder on your grass as a full rate would. So there you go. Ronald Paris, we were all at graduation parties today. Enjoy your night. What is going on with graduation parties on almost July the 1st? That's wild, Ronald. That's late, man. Here we go. Chris Gibson says, take the hat off. My hair is brutal right now, so I'm going to take it off for just a minute, just to appease you there, Gibby. Great so far. If you're on the lawn forum, I have an article on the warm season side about broadcast stolenizing Tiff Tough. Handle there is moving shrub. If you're on, I have an article. Oh, okay. I had to process that there. Strumsy's in Utah. Yeah, you were asking a question about cool season grass. Let me hop back up here and reference your earlier question. Dealing with the POA, man. Yeah, as dry as you probably are in Utah right now, man, I'd try and let it dry out and see if it doesn't take it on out. Plus, you're about to go through a nice little heat wave there due to El Nino, and see if you can't let it cook out that way. We'll go that route. I got some ringer I want to throw down before rain tomorrow night, but it's going to be 95. Maybe it's going to be 78, then mid-80s the rest of the week. Oh, Monday it's going to be 78. Go for it or too hot. KBG. Little baby Kenny, control your N rate. So nitrogen in general is, when you're dealing with a cool season grass and you're at temperatures that are like 95 degrees. 95 is beyond the genetic ability of Kentucky bluegrass. Now, your saving grace there is that it'll be for a short period of time. So even if you deprive Kentucky bluegrass from light for 24 hours, it's not likely going to kill the plant. It's just going to stress it, right? So same thing with temperature. You're over 85, it's going to be 95, and it may only be for a day or two. That's not going to stress it. Even if you're leading into weeks into a month, you're going to put significant stress on it. It'll go dormant and go into self-preservation mode. But if you've got 78s, the mid-80s rolling up the rest of the week, you can go for it. If it were me personally, I would not. But you have to remember where I'm coming from. I'm coming from a region where I'm further south than you, and I would be super nervous, super sensitive about going out with any sort of nitrogen right now at the 4th of July. If it was the end of August, I would say, yeah, go for it. Even if it was the middle of August, I'd say, yeah, go for it. But I'm speaking from my own experience here and my own regionality, and I just wouldn't do it here. Where you are, you may be fine. Trying to get that last minute 4th of July pop. That's right. Michael Lane, how are you, good sir? Good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning in. Let's see here. Is it fescue? I want to feed Stephen Brown. I don't understand your question. Shoot me that again. I can double check up on it there. Is it fescue you want to see? Is that what you want to feed? I think that's what you're talking about. I'm not sure. What surfactant do you use when a tank mixture ingredients call for different adjuvants? Glyphosate wants NIS. Fuselae label says MSOCOC. Triclopyr, MSO, I think. Okay, so always refer back to labels. Really it. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. So if you've got all of those in a single tank mix, I mean, if I'm mixing glyphosate, fusilade, and triclopyr, I would just run MSO and not think anything about it. Triclopyr and MSO, you probably don't need to run together. Triclopyr's ester based, so it's going to have its own penetrative power on its own. So you probably wouldn't have to do anything with that. And if you're running something like glyphosate, which would be closer to an amine formulation, and fusilade, which is designed to control grasses. So in order to maximize your kill on the grasses, you have to get that penetration. So that's why that would call for the MSO. And then the triclopyr is ester based. So you don't have to worry as much about that penetrating. It's going to do it on its own. So if you're mixing an ester with an amine, you probably don't have to worry too much about an adjuvant because you've got an ingredient that's an ester base. I hope that helps. Phil, there's not really just a solid answer on that. Really, it's your preference, to be honest. I don't think there's a tried and true, just, you got to do it this way. There's no rule book on that. You kind of just have to wing it, to be honest. I haven't heard you talk much about Anuvia. This is my second season using it mixed with RGS. I've been getting great results. My question is, have you found something better, more affordable? Jason Clark, since you ask, I'll talk. Okay, why I haven't talked about Anuvia. Anuvia is a great fertilizer. Don't get me wrong. It is an awesome fertilizer. I love the production process. I think their business model is neat in terms of what it provides to the plant. I really like that too. So what they do is they take waste, human waste, and food waste from Disney, and they treat it with sulfuric acid to drive the pH super low, kill off any pathogens, and it creates this intense amount of heat. And so you have this super sulfuric human crap. Then they inject it with anhydrous ammonia. Anhydrous ammonia has a high pH by nature, and when it reacts with the sulfuric acid, you get the production of ammonium sulfate as it's binding with the human waste. And so you have this unique homogenized prill that has like an ammonia sulfate biosolid combined type particle. And then when they start to roll it into a fertilizer prill, they hit it with iron, and that's what gives it that little bump in iron content that it has. I did not use it mainly because of the cost and what I had planned for my business this year. I couldn't get it from my distributor for less than $25, $26 a bag. And with the 1623 analysis, I would pretty much go broke if I used Anuvia. So I said no Anuvia. Your question is, have you found something better and more affordable? Yes. And I actually decided to make my own fertilizer. And so where they are combining biosolids with ammoniacal nitrogen, I wanted to take it one step further, and we're actually using biochar, which has much higher carbon content. So in maximizing that C to N ratio that everybody talks about, your carbon to nitrogen ratio, and increasing that CEC, I bound ammonium sulfate and iron and even a potassium sulfate load and biochar all together, and then use some organic binders that basically has almost a composting effect on this biochar that allows it to slowly release all those nutrients that it's bound up with in this prill. And so, yes, it actually performed much better than Anuvia did in a side-by-side. All that's going to be on the different channel because, again, I don't want to do all that through the grass factor. That can go through the carbon earth. and it would be more affordable than Anuvia too. So that's why I haven't talked a whole lot about it. One, I couldn't afford to use it widespread, and two, out of pure frustration, I decided to build my own fertilizer plant and release my own fertilizer. Matt, how's the football field looking? Post the roundup. Jeremy, they dug it all out and put in AstroTurf. I'll have to take a picture and send it to you. Solid Grab, what's up, Russ? My man, Russell Skipper, right there. For those of you who don't know, Russell Skipper is one of my great friends down in Atlanta, Georgia. Got to see him this week on Thursday. That was good stuff, man. That was good stuff. Russell owns a company called Solid Ground Landscape. He specializes more so in commercial lawn care, but he also has a budding residential lawn care section, and he is the man behind the wheel of a different ride-on spreader sprayer, and so we always play fight about that. It's funny. It's funny. What's up, Rick? What's up, Skipper? I'm glad you're here, man. Been planning out Blanket Celsius app to greatly reduce major weed issue. Can I spike with pre-emergent and surfactant? If so, which? Any other suggestions to add? Lots of land to cover, limited apps. Okay, yes, you can spike it with pre-emergent. Just keep in mind that applying pre-emergent this time of year is going to be kind of a catch-22. It's going to be limited in its ability to prevent things, mainly because so much has already germinated. And like pre-emergents work, they work before things germinate, before they emerge, pre-emerge. So if it's already emerged, even if it's above even if it's below your grass layer, so sometimes you'll have your grass that's this high, right? And underneath you have weeds that are this tall. Well, pre-emergent isn't going to do anything for weeds this tall, and you may not see them yet. So you can, and then the other thing too is that applying pre-emergent in this level of heat, you're already going to have a reduced residual, a reduced length of efficacy, because heat is typically what breaks down pre-emergent, and it's not going to have time to work its way into the soil to be protected before it gets hot. So if I were you, I would plan on controlling your mainly your perennials, because it's your perennials that are going to come back year over year. So things like your Dallas grass, and get after your sedges really aggressively, your buttonweed, get after it really aggressively, and do any sort of soil remediation you need to do. Celsius is a good start. Celsius alone isn't going to probably give you the results that you're looking for. You would probably have to add another herbicide to Celsius to give you that spectrum of control. If you're dealing with centipede, though, you don't really have a whole lot of options. So you may just have to run sequential Celsius apps. So you may have to run one week, and then on the third week, run a second application of Celsius to try and help get that knocked down. What will kill Johnson grass but not harm the other grass? What grass type, L&M? John Ware, I'm not going to do it, man. I'm not going to do it. Back because Gibby wants to know. From one Matt to another, I appreciate it. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it, Mr. Ramirez. I really do. Thank you. Oh, Gibby, he's got jokes here. For those of you that would like to hang out with us on the interweb, check us out on Discord. It's an app you can download on your phone and join TLF. That is TLF for the Lawn Forum. Hop over to the chat called Shenanigans, and it's a live chat with not all, but many guys from the Lawn Forum, and it's a good time. They're always having fun over there. They want to know how much money it would take for me to take off my shirt for the remainder of the stream, and I'm not going to do it. Thanks, Gibby. That's funny. Let's see here. Let me get back. Let me see if I can pay attention to this. Mike, you're on vacation? Good for you, man. Where you at right now? Matt Powell, official. What's happening with you, brother? What's happening with you? Don't tread on mining. Hey, thank you, good sir. I know that name. I see it from time to time. I saw you pop up in the Discord. Justin McFarland, what's going on? How are you, good sir? Matt Powell, I do not need you to give me any. Don't you worry about it. I don't need that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. God is good. Planning on doing pre-emergence this fall and spring to get rid of the POA and let the KBG fill in. There you go. Now, I think that'll be a good way for you to handle that. Justin McFarland, down in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. I got a really good friend that lives down there in Mount Juliet, too. Mr. Josh Whitaker with Performance Lawns of Mount Juliet, Tennessee, is a great, great friend of mine. He's an awesome guy. He's down there in Mount Juliet. Now, I'm glad they're looking better because I know he was worried about how dry it was getting out there. The cat is acting hungry, little baby Kenny. Let me tell you what's going on here. The cat is going ham right now because my son and daughter are in Japan with my wife, and my son and this cat are best friends. And since he's been gone, the cat has been going absolutely bonkers. Even when I Skype with my wife and kids, the cat is attacking the phone to try and give my son attention. It's just it's a pitiful thing. It is a pitiful, pitiful thing. When is the best time to kill Bermuda grass on fescue? So, I've got a video series on Pilex where I talk about just this. So, what you're really looking for is going to be after the summer solstice, probably towards the later end of June, into August, when your daylight hours begin to drop. As the length of daylight begins to drop, Bermuda is going to shift focus, sending energy from the leaves to the roots. So this carbohydrate storage cycle begins to take place. When that begins to take place, that's when you attack your Bermuda grass, because not only can you translocate material to the root system more efficiently, but you also interrupt the carbohydrate storage process. So you're attacking the Bermuda grass from 2 points. You have a higher chance of success doing it that way. Patrick Keegan, hey man, welcome aboard. Glad you're here. Did a late spring sitting a turf type tall fescue in a lawn where I removed trees. Many areas didn't germinate due to soil compaction. Would multiple aerate apps help prior to fall seed? Yes, sir, Patrick. It would. If you're dealing with like large area bare ground though, just for seed purposes, something like that, yeah, you can do aerate and seed on top of it, and that's fine. You can also run a nail drag or something over it and help embed that seed a little bit just to get it going. And then once you get it going, then that's when you can really start doing it, because the way aerate is going to work, it's going to probably work better in conjunction with rootgrass development, because then you're really driving the roots and open up the porosity at the same time. So you're really attacking compaction from two different angles there. So that's probably what I would do, is I would get your grass established first and then attack with aerate. How often should I water in the heat of summer? We went from tons of rain to none now for 10 days. I have a timer on at 4:30 for 45 minutes a day. Too much? Okay, so there's no real good way to answer this. I would tell you, if it were my lawn, I would water it once a week at an inch of rain, mimic an inch of water just once a week. You can do that in 2 waterings. So, you could do like a ½ inch and a ½ inch. But you have to understand that isn't going to keep your lawn green. That's going to keep your lawn alive during the heat of the summer. So, whether 45 minutes a day is too much, I honestly don't know. I don't know what you're trying to get out of it. If you're trying to keep it green off the summer, I'd say, yeah, that's probably okay. If you're watering every day, you're promoting the development of disease. So you want to make sure you're being proactive with your fungicides and at that point. So if you're going for peak aesthetics right now in the peak heat of summer, 45 minutes a day, it sounds like too much, but I don't know. honestly don't know. I don't know the volume of water that gets put out by your irrigation system or by your sprinkler. If you've got a sprinkler that runs off a garden hose, I'll tell you 45 minutes a day is basically nothing. Typically those get down about a half inch of water in like 4 hours, something like that. So I don't know how to answer that question for you. I'm sorry, there's too many variables. Is anyone aware of a natural fertilizer coming to the market soon since we can't find Milo anymore? Man, I got to get caught up on this. Sure wish there were more options out there. It's a good question. Richard, I'll have one coming to the market spring of next year that will be natural, similar to Milorganite. You can hold that out. Grassology, what's going on? Hello, sir. What could happen if I put too much fungicide mixed with humic 12? Grassology, I honestly don't know. I don't think much. Yeah, I really don't know. I'm racking my brain. I can't come up with anything really that would be negative about it. Other than the fact that, it's probably burning money on the fungicide end, because fungicides are only going to work up to a certain rate. The other thing could be too, depending on the fungicide. So if it's propiconazole and you ran too much fungicide, propiconazole is going to have a growth inhibition effect. DMIs are going to be growth regulatory in nature, and that can cause a little bit of decline in turf quality. So again, there's a lot of variables that can go into that too. I've never used humic acid. I want to know if it's better to spray as spray diluted or granular. Also added RO lawn anytime. Tin Man. So when it comes to humic acid, okay, so humic acid is going to also compose is going to be composed of, you have your humic acids and then the smaller particle size, which is going to be the fulvic acids. Humic acids in and of themselves are natural chelators. When foliarly applied, that chelation effect will help things like leaf tissues take it in through the leaves more efficiently. Also, at the same time, if applied as a granular into the soil, it will help chelate nutrients that are in the soil to allow for easier uptake through the roots. So the benefit of a foliar application is that you have two methods of uptake, both leaf uptake as well as root uptake. So typically I would say that foliar applications are more efficient than granular applications. By how much, that's debatable, but usually, a foliar application is going to be more efficient. Would you recommend adding triclopyr to speed zone, or is it overkill? Alpha, if it's this time of year, it's way overkill. What's up, Brian? How are you, good sir? JC, the lawn care guy. Hey, man, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. I really do. Puero, W. Harrell Jr. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Mentioned another channel. Can I find out more about your fertilizer? And if so, what is the channel? I have not started that channel yet. If you want to find out more about that fertilizer, you can go to carbonearth.co. That website's being built. Anyone use Hunter HydroWise controller? I do not. I talk to lawn people about the stuff I learned from your channel, and they look at me like I have 3 heads. That's funny, Alpha. I'm a big nerd about this, man. It is bad. Alliston Rental, is Killex good for killing weeds? I honestly don't know what Killex is. If you could give me the active ingredient in Killex, I could tell you all you want to know about it. Son, what's going on, man? We'll throw the dog ears at you, man. Woof woof. Coastal Bermuda, L&M Lawn Care. How about that Coastal Bermuda? What you want to know about it? Hey, Koji, how are you, good sir? I got to get the kids to bed. Hey, man, I know how that goes. You have a good one, good sir. Look at that. That's what I said, Telly. Telly, tell them. Hop in there and tell them what's going on, man. They're being ridiculous. I love my guys over at the Discord chat. They're funny. Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, enjoying the heat wave. Hope my Pennsylvania lawn is all right. I hear you, Michael Lane. That sounds awesome, though. Never been to Delaware. I would totally love to go. Justin Smith. Hey, Matt. Been following your YouTubers talking about low volume spraying. I have the setup and have great success with herbicides. What about next product? Say that minimum 7-to-1 dilute. Justin, I would not attempt to do the fertilizers low volume. So I don't normally run, you know, the only one I think you can run low volume would be like Microgreen. You know, I run personally Air 8, what is it, Dethatch, and RGS. That's what I've run at low volume. Things like the 1801 or the M Charge, I would not do because that's going to be too high of a concentration of fertilizer salts on the leaf tissue, and you can cause tip burn even at a super low rate. So, to answer that question, yeah, you still can run. The whole next line was designed to be run at low volume, and people are doing it, you know, pretty regularly. I've been looking for good turf type tall fescue for the cool zones. Any recommendations? Chewing red fescue or creeping fescue isn't a turf type tall, is it? No, chewing red fescues and creeping fescues are not a turf type tall fescue. If you're looking for one in the cool zones, I recommend you go to the NTEP trials, ntep.org, and look for an NTEP trial in your area and see which seed types perform the best. Connor Ward in the house, yo dog. Woo, woo, woo. What's going on, Connor? Good to see you in here, man. Speaking of pre-emergence, whoa, let me get caught up here. I went a little too far. Speaking of pre-emergence, I found your site just time to catch you explaining that we in the transition zone must get the pre-emergent down now, which was in February. Thanks, you have no weeds. That's good to hear, Gene. That's good to you. Good to hear. So many people push that off until the absolute last minute. Get it out. Get it out and be done with it. The Lawn Stripes is here. Man, this is awesome. Everyone's here. My mom is here. What's going on, Mom? How are you? The Low-Mo Rebel. You should have killed the cottonwoods instead of your nutrient. Jeremy B. Easy on him. He is sensitive. I'm just kidding. Connor Ward is not sensitive. Not at all. HD Movie Source, Springer Lawn Restores an all-natural fert. And it is plant-based versus human waste. That's right. It is an all-natural plant-based. So they are going to, what? I think there's bone and feather meal in there. Or is it all soy-based? I don't remember. Let me look up the label real quick. I'll kind of update you on this. Springer Lawn Restore 2. Bust this open and see what the different nutrient sources are in here. I remember Ringer had potassium sulfate as a potash source, which is that's always my go-to K source. So can't really go wrong there. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, of course it doesn't list it. Here we go. Distiller's grains, soybean meal, and sulfate of potash. There we go. And they're using the soybean meal to be your slow-release nitrogen source. So there you go. There you go. I put down the Milo a week early last week, and it's in the 90s. My dollar spot is staying at bay for now. Should I put down the propiconazole or no? Party girl, I would not worry about the propiconazole now. Movie is finished. How long is the test window for Carbon X? And what type of feedback are you looking for? Abnormalities like this burn my lawn, or what the product does actually work? The test window is going to be, as far as like you being able to test it, you know, we're gonna probably keep the testing more on a commercial scale. So you know, we're gonna keep it in like universities and stuff because that's what everybody's gonna ask for. Well, where's the university research? The problem is that each one of those university tests cost about $250,000. So they're going to be really slow to do. And then on top of that, the actual length of time to test the material may take a year or longer. So it's going to be a while before we get that back. As far as feedback that we're looking for, we're going to cater more towards the professionals. So what we're looking for is going to be flowability through the spreader, the amount of buildup that takes place on the impeller paddle, things like ability to see and, you know, understand your prill distribution. Do you have any problems doing that while spreading it? We're not concerned about whether or not the product actually works. We're well past proof of concept. And does this burn my lawn? No, we're well past that too, because you know, it's really all going to be dependent on the amount of nitrogen and amount of fertilizer salt you put down. And so we're using an ammoniacal nitrogen. So the potential is there for you to burn your lawn. But if you apply it as directed, you have no risk of burning your lawn. So things like that we're not concerned about. What we are concerned about are tightening it up and making it neat and packaged pretty, to make it more usable and appealing to guys like me on the professional end of things. I had been cutting my grass short, trying to get it to spread, but it is not thickening up. I tried overseeding and none of it took. So what could I do to get it to thicken up and fill in? L&M Lawn Care. Oh, you're talking about coastal Bermuda, man. Oh, man. That's a tough one because L&M coastal Bermuda is a pasture grass. It is designed for grazing. So it's not going to tolerate a low height of cut really well. I had to deal with it a little bit in Augusta, Georgia, and the way we got it to thicken up was actually keeping it mowed around 3.5 inches, and we had to scalp it about every 6 weeks. Scalp it as low as you could possibly get it to get that stem length down because it's extremely leggy, extremely stemmy. So super frequent mowing. It was like 2 to 3 times a week at a high height of cut for coastal Bermuda. It may be different on where you're at. That was the only thing we could figure out to do in Georgia, though. What could I rotate with headway to avoid resistance? You could switch to a product like JG. It's a good one. You don't really have a lot of options. You could switch to something like, what is it? ProStar. You could switch to ProStar. You could switch to Segway. I think Segway is labeled for residential. Don't quote me on that, but I think that one is. And you could also switch to like a Cleary's, 3336. So ProStar, Segway, Cleary's, all those will work in rotation with headway. Since you mentioned humic acid as a chelator, could you use it as a surfactant? Steve, this is a good question. Does it actually work to function as a true surfactant? Is it going to cut the surface tension of water? I don't know. I don't think so. In terms of it having penetrative power, is it going to increase foliar uptake? So it'll increase foliar uptake because it actually will bond with a mineral nutrient. So something like iron that is going to have a particular charge, it will have a bond to it, and that's what will help it make that pass, that act as that bridge. Whereas when you're dealing with like a surfactant, you're not looking for just a bond to take place where it's going to bond to it like a polymer would and pull it into it. What you're doing is just making the solution itself more slippery, so it doesn't grab onto it, but it just makes it just move around it really easily and freely. Pylex costs $500. Yes, it is expensive, and it's but it's only around $1 per 1,000 square feet. So there you go. Yeah, shout out to the Lawn Forum Discord, boys. How would you level a turf-type tall fescue lawn? James, there is not a good answer for you, man. You can do sand and just expect to deal with some damage on your turf-type tall fescue. So try and hammer it all out in the fall. Go about it that way. And expect some damage, and just get after it however you can with the damage done. Do your seeding and do with it. Or you can do it with topsoil. Get you some soil, bring it in, level it out, and understand that you're going to kill your grass and seed onto it. Oh, how do you kill just Johnson grass in coastal Bermuda? You can use Tribute Total will kill your Johnson grass. Yeah, chemical wizardry. That's right. Chris Foy, thank you, sir. Spark arrestor count 10. I don't know what that reference comes from. Please post that in the Discord chat so I can make notes on that and figure out what's going on. In fact, oh boy, Telly Coleman is going is going ham in there right now. Oh, he can't get in there. Hang on, buddy. Let me help you out. Just click that, Telly Coleman. Just click that. You're way too energetic to be eating grapes. I am not energetic. I'll tell you right now. I am struggling. It is tough on me right now. Hey, Matt, have you used Mesa fertilizer or any UFlex products? If so, your thoughts on them? Yeah, Douglas, I have done 3 videos on UFlex in particular, and also talked a lot about Mesa. So Mesa is a methylene urea ammonium sulfate homogenized product. It's good. The problem is that it's very heat dependent in order for release to take place. And then the methylene urea is a urea that's bonded. It has this long chain, formaldehyde chain put on it. So just in my mind, I have this thing about applying formaldehyde to the soil. And that's why I don't use methylene or triazone urea or ureaform or nitroform or anything like that. Is it a good product? Yeah. Same with UFlex. UFlex just delays the release of nitrogen. So you can apply a UFlex-based product. It inhibits the enzyme urease, which will convert the urea into NH3 and CO2. So instead of having like a slow release, you have a delayed release. So it'll hold on and keep that urea from becoming a usable nitrogen form for about 2 weeks, and then it'll release. So it's not really a slow release. It just delays the release of the nitrogen. Yeah, man, I'm struggling. Greetings from the Badlands, Raleigh, North Carolina. Glad you're here, sir. I'm glad you're here. Mark Raymond, what's going on, man? Hey, I appreciate that, man. I really appreciate that, JHL. I'm loving this stuff so much. I took a job at a local spray company, and from watching you and Pete, I'm at this new job sounding like a know-it-all. I'm going to keep my mouth shut my second week. American Troy, that is hilarious, man. I will tell you right now, the hardest part about this industry, I love this industry to death. Don't get me wrong. The hardest part is that everybody has kept what they do in this industry a secret for so long, and that it's led to just massive amounts of issues. So because we've kept things secrets like managing disease and fertilizers and weed controls, people get experimental in the wrong ways. And so, you know, when I first met Pete, you know, we kind of had that same mentality of, you know, like we were tired of all the bad knowledge being passed around out there. And that's not to say that, you know, both Pete and myself don't make mistakes. We do constantly. But you know, for me particularly, I wanted to help people understand the science to be able to make the judgment calls on the product they want to use. And, you know, Pete wanted to give people the tools and, you know, the basics and even the advanced agronomy principles to use while out in the field. And that goes from whether you're a homeowner or a professional. Pete helps just as many professionals as he does homeowners. You know, and so anyway, when you're at that local spray company, I know you've only been there 2 weeks. It's going to be hard because you're going to hear people do ridiculous things. And ultimately, it is your responsibility to help them learn how to do it. And they're not going to be receptive of it. So you've got to find a way to make that segue happen. And I feel for you, brother. It's going to be tough. Is it too late now in the year to use Tenacity and Sedgehammer as a spot spray or yellow sedge and remaining weeds? No, you can definitely use Tenacity and Sedgehammer. Label says nothing on temps. Virginia getting hot and dry now. If you're drought stressed, be careful. But other than that, no, you can definitely use Tenacity and Sedgehammer. Did you give it? Hey, no problem, man. What's going on, Fleets? How are you, good sir? Good to see your name back in here. Have a good one, Jeremy W. Spark of Rester was from Connor's latest video. I need to go watch it. I need to go watch it. I'm very proud there are people like, hey, man, thanks, L&M. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, y'all, I'm going to call it. It is 8:56, almost 9 o'clock. It's almost my bedtime, so I'm going to be wrapping it up. I really appreciate everybody tuning in and checking it out on my Saturday night live, YouTube live. I will be out and at this tomorrow night, same time, same place, 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll be rocking and rolling again. So, again, thanks everyone for tuning in. If you got questions, I know this was for the moment, write them down, load them up, get them going, and tomorrow night, let's jump in here and we'll get some things accomplished. Wait, once Peg Junk, this is the first summer with the fescue lawn. Bermuda is trying to seed. I plan on to reseed with fescue, just don't know when. Any help? Peg Jump in the fall. Whenever your soil temperatures are beginning to drop back down, say like to 65 degrees, and they're on the downward decline. So, probably starting in like late August time frame, that's when you want to go about it. Grass Daddy's here. What's up, Papa Bear? All right, y'all, I'm going to call it. Y'all have a great evening. See y'all in the Discord. Take it easy.